Understanding the relationship between autoimmune diseases and your lasting weight loss journey is vitally important for your success because autoimmune disease can completely derail your results. Having solutions like low dose naltrexone and various other protocols are vital because if you don't do these things, if you don't dampen the inflammation and calm down that immune system, you're going to have a hard time achieving lasting weight loss. So we're going to get into it in this video, guys. Enjoy.
So Lisbeth, let's see. So you are dealing with PCOS, Lisbeth?
I'm dealing with PCOS, Hashimoto's, and HS.
Okay.
I was diagnosed with the Hashimoto's last year.
Okay.
The doctor thought it was related to trauma because I underwent a lot of trauma during the academy at work, and that's when the weight gain started.
Totally. So have you heard of low dose naltrexone?
Yes, I actually just received that as well. I received all my medications, some of them last week.
Okay.
I haven't used any of them yet. I read that we were supposed to reconstitute the GLP-1, but I just received 2 vials that are with
No, yeah, the GLP-1's always
Okay.
in liquid already.
Okay, so no more reconstituting.
GLP-1, no. And then for the AOD, no. Some of you guys might do your own add-on peptides. Some of them do need to be reconstituted, but never the GLP-1s.
So yeah, I received the AOD, the tirzepatide, and the low dose naltrexone, but I haven't used anything yet.
Perfect. Okay, good. I bring up the LDN, which is low dose naltrexone, because you have the autoimmune thing. So very powerful. You can start that as quickly as you want. That's definitely its own sort of thing that's optional for you guys. Only time we recommend LDN is if you have an autoimmune disease or you have some sort of inflammatory condition. Definitely take advantage of that. It's very powerful. Okay, so let's see. You have not been on GLP-1s before?
I was on a GLP-1 for a year.
Okay. When did you stop?
I stopped a week ago.
Oh, okay.
I was on Ozempic, but I told my doctor I didn't want to be on medications for the rest of my life.
We're definitely going to help you with that goal. What were you on the maximum dose, I'm guessing?
They did the 2.0 and then it changed to Wegovy to the 2.4.
That is the max dose. So just out of curiosity, 1 week off of the max dose, you just stopped cold turkey. How do you feel so far?
I feel fine. If I can be completely honest, most of my weight loss happened without the GLP-1.
Yeah.
So I used to go to Mexico and see a holistic Asian doctor.
Yeah.
So at my highest, I was at 350 and I went down to 290.
That's awesome.
With just the anti-inflammatory diet and Asian medication, which was supplements.
Yeah.
So from 350, I went to 290. Then with this GLP-1, in a year, I went from 290 to 240.
Yeah.
And then with all the ports and everything with the work, I went up to 266. But what I noticed the big difference with the GLP-1s was the HS and the inflammation.
Totally. Yeah. So you honestly, if it's only been a week, you really haven't probably even felt the effects of not being on that maximum dose yet. So just keep that in mind. Okay, we're gonna, after we go through the resets, we're gonna talk about whether or not you guys want to continue GLP-1s during the reset or not. So that's I'll table that. So Elizabeth, do you happen to know how many calories you think you've been averaging?
No.
Okay. Have you ever counted calories before?
I used to.
Okay. So if you had to estimate, best guess, what do you think you've been averaging the last 2 weeks?
I want to say probably 1,800 because I try to keep a high protein diet, low carb.
Okay. 1,800 is not bad at all. If you think it's somewhere close to that, then that's pretty good. And then the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you've still been losing?
So I've been going up and down, but I don't know if that's because I'm about to get my menstrual cycle.
Okay.
And usually right before I'll go up.
Yeah, totally. What about the last month? Per week, have you been losing?
Maybe like 0.5.
Okay, so not much. So
Yeah.
let's do a mini reset session with Elizabeth just to find out. Let's see what happens at 1,800. Let's count your calories, Elizabeth. Let's make sure at 1,800, and we're going to get you as high as we can.
Okay.
Guys, if you never counted calories, whether you do a reset or not, there's so much benefit from doing it just once to calibrate and learn what I call calorie counting consciousness.
So with the reset, we're not using any of the medications?
We're going to talk about for all of you guys yeah, because I want to address all you guys. So perfect. All right. Cheryl, how are you?
Yes, sir. I'm fine.
All right. Let's see. Are you the Cheryl White that has been on my lives a lot? I think that
Yes.
I've talked to you a lot. Okay, cool. All right. You've been on 7.5 Zepbound. How long have you been on 7.5 Zepbound?
It was only 3 weeks. It was too much. It completely eliminated my, I guess what they call them, hunger cues. I backed off of that. Now I'm at 5 milligrams. And I've been on 5 milligrams for the past 3 weeks. So literally, no, I couldn't. I would look up and realize I hadn't had anything to eat, and I wasn't even had any desire to eat. It was too much.
Totally. So did you talk to your prescriber about lowering that dose?
Yes, I immediately spoke with them, and I was able to fill the next prescription a week early and got my 5 milligrams. So I ended up not having to finish out the month of the 4 injections. I just stopped it and went straight to the 5 milligrams.
Totally. Okay, good. So you already know you're in a plateau. It sounds like you were losing weight and it's been stalled, correct?
No, I've lost weight consistently. And I think just from listening from you and being mindful, I've tracked my weight since the first day, which is 5'1". Right now, I've met my goal because I started following you on Facebook, not official partner, since April. And then that's when you went from Facebook to TikTok. But
more on TikTok, yeah.
Yes, I literally have jot noted everything, and I'm at goal. I actually have a pound under goal. Right now, I need to reinforce the tools to go back because my authorization expires on October 28th. So I got it. This is why I wanted to start with you to make sure that once this auth is over with, and I no longer meet criteria. So I just want to make sure that because I've been watching your YouTubes and everything about sleeping, the stress, all the things that you talked about. I just need to make sure that I don't let the hunger cues come back in and undo everything.
So guys, this is huge. Thank you, Cheryl. So where Cheryl's at is like the next stage. It's still not the end stage by any means, but it's definitely a good stage to be at. And so being at goal weight is nice. It tells us that in most cases, not all cases, because you could lose a lot of muscle and still be very fat, right? You could still have what you call skinny fat. And to a certain extent, you can look at your body and kind of tell if you have a lot of body fat percentage relative to muscle mass. Obviously, something like a nice DEXA scan would be a really good scenario if you have one in your area, but it's not necessarily required. The next stage after you hit an ideal body weight, which the BMI sucks, but the BMI gives us at least a range to shoot for, and then we go from there. So what Cheryl's talking about, and she's got extra urgency because I'm going to run out of my prescription. So we want to get you there. Medication independence is what we're talking about here, or microdosing intermittent. Because I think the reality is, while I'm striving to help everybody achieve GLP-1 medication independence, not everybody's going to, either from their inability to execute as much as I have on the table and as much as their particular body and individual genetic issues. And there's a lot of variables. So complete independence or needing a small microdose, maybe intermittently, is a goal that I set up for all you guys. And I'll work with you guys as much as I possibly can, depending on how long you're in my coaching. So what you said was perfect. The way that we do that is improving and optimizing those various pillars, which I've always called the 10 pillars of lasting weight loss. The main ones are just making sure your nutrition is dialed in, solid weight training, fixing hormone issues, optimizing stress, optimizing sleep. There's a couple more, but these are the main ones. I would say, Cheryl, now the big shift from fat loss now is going to be muscle building. So we can still do everything in the protocol, but the difference is, instead of us focusing on the scale going down, I want for you the scale to stay the same, / maybe even go up a little bit, but you can visibly see on your body, I'm getting stronger. I see muscle coming on. And that's where you guys are all going to be in the future. So just wanted to give you guys that visual.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So yeah, no reset needed, Cheryl. So we can just roll right into the program.
Okay.
Fantastic. We're going to go through 2 more, and then we're going to keep talking about the various pillars next. All right, Rohit. Yeah. What are we looking to accomplish, Rohit?
My goal is I used to be 140 kgs. I'm trying to do that in pounds, but I lost a lot of weight because I went to dance school and I did ballet for a year. Lost a lot of weight, had a lot of loose skin, had to undergo a surgery to get rid of the extra loose. But I feel like my body is still not in a place where I want it to be. I'm still very conscious if I'm like bare chested, like it's still a little saggy. Like I want to develop more muscle and I want like better definition. That's what my goal is. I weigh around 200 pounds right now, and my height is around 5'10". I average calorie for this week at around 2,200, and the lowest was around 1,800. Been fasting on an average of like 12 to 14 hours every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, the goal to like work towards a more chiseled body is what I'm trying to go. I work out 4 times a week,
Yeah.
a lot of strength training. And then 2 days of a week, I have a 2 or 3 hour dance rehearsal, which is quite a lot of cardio.
Totally. What was your height and weight?
I'm 5'10", and around today morning, I was like 202 pounds.
How much on the pounds?
202.
And have you ever had any sort of body fat percentage testing of any kind?
Yeah, so like I go to the Lifetime gym, and that machine told me it's like in-body scans, so I can tell you what it is.
Oh, cool. The little small ones that you hold are not that accurate, but the bigger ones that scans, yeah, cool.
Like it's this bigger machine.
Nice.
The last time I did this, it was quite a while back. My history. I'm around like 21%.
21%. Okay, that's pretty good. Could you start to see the very first lines of your abs or not yet?
Some lines here.
Yeah.
But I can't see any definition here. But yeah, maybe when we connect on a one-on-one call, we can talk more.
Yeah, no, and the reason I asked is because I could, for most cases, use a question like that to assess body fat percentages based off gender and no, that's awesome. I would say with your goal wanting to get leaner and more muscular, since we just came off of usually I tell people let's get as lean as possible and then let's focus on building the muscle mass. But in your case, we've already made a huge progress in body fat loss. I think spending some time and putting on maybe 5 to 10 pounds of weight, but 5 to 10 pounds of pure muscle would do really good aesthetically. And then we can go back to chiseling that up a little bit more. I think that might be, for what you're telling me, the better path. I've never had two people on the same call in a muscle building phase. This is cool. Similarities. That's cool that you guys are starting at the same time, because we're going to be trying to do the muscle building version of FLOA, which there's not that much variation. You'll see. Okay, fantastic. Do you happen to know how many calories you think you average, Rohit?
Yeah, I think it ranges between 800 to 2,200 the week. It's all week.
So you said 1,800 to 2,000, yeah?
Yeah, 2,200.
So let's do a little bit of a reset, Rohit. Let's see how high we can get that without the weight coming up, Ceci. So let's start him off at 2,200 and see how that goes. That might be his cap right away. I don't know yet, but I really want to push that up. And the biggest change, we're going to talk more about weight training, but the focus now needs to be solid resistance training, 4 to 5 days, even if that means, because I know we all have limited time of how much we can spend in the gym. So now the shift goes even more, because I tell most people 3 days a week is plenty for the fat loss to maintain. But in your case, we want to build. So we want to start prioritizing if we can get 5, maybe even 6 days of a solid weight training session, even if that means less cardio. I'm totally okay with that. So cool. All right. Thank you for that, Rohit. And then we have, how do you like to be called? Is it Dr. Kaya?
It's going to be too complex. My name is Itzel. Everybody call me Dr. C. I am a professor, so make it easy.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. C. What do you teach, by the way?
I'm a molecular biologist, so all bios from high school to PhD.
That's awesome. Okay, fantastic. Let's see. You're on a GLP-1 already, correct?
I just started yesterday.
Ah, okay. First time ever?
I would say maybe 6 months ago, I tried, but I was just taking the pills. It was in pills. So it was the semaglutide, but not the
Yeah, the Ribellus.
the other, correct. And I think I didn't do right because I didn't follow anything with that. I was just taking the pill.
Yeah,
I probably was more scared to see what was happening with my body. So I didn't see too much change, but I think it was because of me, because I was not under any plan.
totally, totally. Okay, we're gonna get all that changed. So that's awesome. Okay, fantastic. So do you happen to know how many calories you think you average?
I really don't know. I assume it's more than 2,000. I have days that I barely eat. I try to look for healthy foods. So sometimes I eat like only once per day. I don't do purposely not to eat, but technically most of my days I have only one food, and that is every 16 hours or more.
Totally, totally. Okay. So you're naturally doing some intermittent fasting every day, it sounds like.
Not purposely, but yes.
Gotcha. And on those days where you're eating less often, do you think you're still getting 2,000 calories, or do you know those days are a lot less?
It's sometimes it's a lot less, but sometimes I'm super hungry.
Okay.
So I eat whatever it is,
Okay.
and I don't eat well. Sometimes it's very few food, and other days it's a lot of food.
What do you think per week the average is of days where you undereat? 1 day a week on average, or 3 days a week where you're undereating per week?
If you're watching these clips from my coaching calls and wishing you can be part of the team, I'll put a link in the description, but we have thousands of individuals who are kicking ass using microdose intermittent use protocols and implementing sustainable lifestyle strategies, guys. Click that link, fill out your information. Now, back to the show.
More than 3 days.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So, Ceci, let's do a mini reset with her too. Let's do 1,800, but the focus is going to be you got to hit 1,800 every day.
Okay.
So you need to figure out a plan for the day. If you have your schedule that's obviously busy, figure out a way that you can ensure you're hitting your calorie goals. With the reset, guys, you have to count anyways. So if it happens to be one meal, you could still do a reset that way. So don't stress out about it being one meal, but you got to make sure you eat 2,000 calories or 1,800 in a single meal. So obviously it's easier if you do at least 2 meals. So
Okay.
having some snacks and healthy foods prepared for you maybe earlier when you're busy at work might be a better solution. Okay, fantastic. So now the question about the medications during the reset. So taking AOD is phenomenal. AOD is always good to take. There's no issue at all. Obviously, it's a pricier peptide, but it's a really nice add-on to the program. AOD starts to rebuild the metabolism, specifically it increases metabolic flexibility. Metabolic flexibility just refers to your metabolism's ability to switch fuel sources between carb burning and fat burning. Everything that we do with the FLOA protocol makes you very metabolically flexible, multiple different ways. The fact that we're fixing insulin resistance is one of the ways that you become more metabolically flexible. But until we get there, that's where the AOD bridges the gap. So just be aware that if you want to use your AOD during the reset, you're going to obviously go through your supply a little bit faster. So that's my only caveat. Now, the GLP-1, I know only 2 of you have already been on it. Cheryl, and you're not doing a reset, Cheryl, so you're fine.
Okay.
Who's doing a reset that's been taking GLP-1s for a while? I don't think anybody so far. Because doctor, you just started. Okay, good. So we're good. So we don't even have to talk about that one. Okay, fantastic. Okay, good. So let's get into the protocol. So as you read on the welcome packet, I divide the fasting into 3 different stages: intermittent, and then we have our longer fasting. We have stage 2, which is your 24-hour fasting, and then stage 3 is your 48. So you are to get to the goal of a single 48-hour fast every single week. Now, for Rohit and Cheryl, we might modify that for you and make it a little bit less just because we're in a more muscle building phase, but not necessarily. So we have to play with this is the first time you're seeing these situations in a while, Ceci. So for Cheryl and Rohit, maybe we'll do 36 and see how they do. But for everybody else in general, the goal is to get yourself to the point where you can do a single fast for 48. The big hump for most people is that first time you go from dinner to dinner, and then you wake up you go to bed after not eating the whole day, then you wake up. Once you can get to that phase, you only do the fasting 1 time per week. because that's too long. Because when you wake up the next morning, you're already at the 34-hour range. And then for the rest of you guys, we're trying to increase that week by week for 48. And then Rohit and Cheryl will see how you're doing at that point. But 36 to 48 hours, one time per week, that's the goal, to get yourself to that point. If you are in a reset, this is the only alteration to the program. If you are in a reset, there is no long fasting until we graduate you from the reset. Okay, we're going to talk about food and supplements next. But the big takeaway from the fasting is you guys are driving the vehicle. You guys are going to progress yourself at your own desired pace with the fasting. I just want to be clear on that. Some people want to go really quickly. Some people want to go nice and slow and steady. Stress levels in your life are obviously a variable. If you have a ton of stress, take time with your body, be nicer, be sensitive. But if you're a kind of personality that wants to move fast and you're excited, I have no problem with that either. Keep in mind, the faster you try to progress yourself, the more resistance you're going to run into naturally, right? And so just be aware of that. Listen to your body as you are progressing in fasting. What's expected is tiredness and brain foggy and obviously hunger. Although the GLP-1 does a nice job of alleviating that in most cases, you're still going to probably feel it in the second half of the stage, second half stage of the longer fasting. Any questions about progressing yourself through the fasting? We're going to talk about supplements and food here in a second.
Not at this time.
Fantastic. Okay, good. Cool. So the food is, and this isn't the first time you're hearing this, I call it the anti-processed food diet. We just got to eat less processed food. I know processed food is so damn delicious. Wouldn't that be awesome if we could eat processed food all the time? That would be great, but unfortunately we can't. I do, a sustainable goal to me means a life where you can have some. I think there's just, unless you have a very unique autoimmune situation or like full-blown celiac disease, okay, maybe you're never going to be able to have processed foods, and I can't change that. But for the majority of us, that's one of the main benefits of long fasting, is it really does improve the body's health. And what I've noticed is gives you an ability to tolerate junk food a little bit more than you could otherwise. Again, I'm not trying to give you the green light to eat more junk food, but I just want to make it more sustainable for you, which I think having a little bit is more realistic. 90%, 10 is my range for you throughout the program. And then I want to get you to more of a sustainable 80-20, 75-25, referring to the ratio of clean versus processed and ultra processed. So protein intake for you weight loss phase people, which is 2 of us, between your target weight and your current weight in grams of protein. For Cheryl and Rohit, I want you eating about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. This is a lot, but that's what we need to be going for. So about 200 grams. I think you said, Rohit, you're about 202. And Cheryl, how much do you weigh?
I weighed myself yesterday and it was 134.
Okay, so let's go for about 135, 140 grams of protein per day. In theory, the more often you can eat your protein, the better it is for the signal towards growing muscle. In my weight loss phase, I don't stress about that. I just say get the protein in. If it has to be all in one meal because you're snacking, then I don't care. But for you guys, I really do want you in your eating windows. You're not doing 1 meal a day. You're getting 2 to 3 meals a day. So try to get protein in every single meal. But you all would benefit from applying that same rule, just so you know. Whey protein supplementation is the most targeted protein powder for muscle growth. I'm going to go over my little post-lifting shake recipe for you guys, for Rohit and Cheryl, but plant protein is good to circulate in there. Collagen peptides are good for hair, skin, and nail, but whey is going to be your strongest for building muscle mass. Whey isolate if you have a dairy intolerance. Breaking the long fast, you guys saw, has its own little rules there. Essentially, just eating smaller, easier to digest foods at the beginning of the breaking the fast. And then throughout that period, 12, 24 hours, you're eating slightly bigger meals, harder to digest foods. So bone broth, soups are my favorite ways to break those long fasts. Any food or fasting related questions? We'll talk about supplements next. Fantastic. If you think of a question later, don't worry, don't hesitate to bring it up. Let me share my screen.
I had a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It was regarding supplements and fasting. So
Yeah.
having my multivitamin or any of the other, like I take omega-6, vitamin D, multivitamin. Are all of those breaking my fast?
Great question. So in a very long answer, it gets very nuanced, but for the quick answer, no, you're totally fine. In fact, I want you to take your mix of vitamins and electrolytes during your fasting window. And hopefully you mean omega-3s, right?
Yeah, sorry, omega-3.
Okay, yeah. We all have too many omega-6s in our diet already. Cheryl.
A fasting type question. I got a lot of medical issues that are battling each other. In my history, I provided that I do have Crohn's. I am off the medication for the Crohn's. That's stable. But I also a diabetic as of, it'll be 3 years in October. And according to my doctor, it's managed. I'm not happy with a 6'3" and a 6'4". I want it to be below that. I am getting my fasting number every morning lower and lower. My concern is I also have a permanent ostomy. So I find it difficult to find things that won't cause a blockage. I do fast. With me having Crohn's all my life, to eat more than one a meal or 2 meals a day has been the norm for me. So I don't think fasting is going to be a problem as far as extended times. What I have a problem with is that I've never, and I don't want to be disrespectful or poo-poo it, but I've not been hungry. I've never been hungry. I've always had problems digesting food. Now that the back colon is gone, that's what put on all the weight, because now what I ate was 100% processed. So that's how I whacked on 85 pounds. My concern is that I know when you said 1 gram per weight, so you recommended about 140. I'm sitting here, hell, how am I going to do that? I could barely eat what I'm eating now. So any suggestions? I'll continue reviewing all the material that's part of the university and anything else that I come across. That's my biggest, what I consider a roadblock for me, is trying to find something to eat once the eating window, whatever the eating window ends up being. That's my biggest problem.
Yeah, for sure. And this is where the protein supplements can come into handy, because you can drink the protein shakes.
Okay.
So protein shakes, and I want you actually doing more protein shakes just because we're in a muscle building phase. Everybody else, I would say, get as much protein from whole food, but in your case, whey protein is going to be very valuable. Greek yogurt is also very easier to get down. Cottage cheese. I started playing around with this recipe. It might sound gross, but I'm using these low carb tortillas, and I cook up some sort of meaty, cheesy interior with these low carb tortillas, and I put cottage cheese on top, which I just recently started playing with. It tastes really good with some sort of hot sauce on it. So in the works, I have some FLOA recipes, but our diet isn't that special as you see. So that's why it's not hard. Really, we're just trying to do less processed foods. And then we are going to go a little keto, which I'll talk about here in a second. So
last question. Does the whey protein spike your sugar? Is it sugar in it?
So rapidly digesting proteins will spike your insulin, but when you're trying to build muscle mass, you do need to spike your insulin. So this is where it gets a little bit of in the entire FLOA protocol, we're trying to become insulin sensitive, which means never spike your insulin, right? When you're trying to build muscle mass, you do need to spike your insulin a little bit, selective times, days when you're lifting weights. So keep that in mind. With the days that you lift heavy training hypertrophy, that's a very different scenario when you eat anything that raises blood sugar, which like whey protein would. So just keep that in mind. But I think, like I said, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese are going to be good for you.
Understood. Thank you.
Cool.
If I'm fasting and I work out that day, I don't end up having protein after my workout. Is that okay?
Yeah. So ideally, you're doing your weight training on days that you're not doing your long fast.
Oh, okay.
Especially for you, because we actually are trying to build muscle mass. So your perfect schedule would be a day and a half fasting and then 5 days of lifting around.
Okay.
Perfect. And then yes, keto was the last piece of that, guys. Trying to lower our carbohydrate intake as much as we possibly can, like 50 grams of net carbs. Now, this will be interesting, Rohit and Cheryl. We need to make a decision, which we can't make until we see your body. For my pure weight loss, fat loss, we go fasting and keto right out the gate, because that's the fastest way to become insulin sensitive. Cheryl, and yours is even more interesting than Rohit, because you also are trying to beat your diabetes. So if beating your diabetes was more important than building muscle mass, I would say let's go keto. Absolutely keto on the days that you're not fasting either. that you're eating, because we can, and I think that really should be the priority. I still want you building muscle mass, but with Rohit, we could probably have a little bit of more carbs on his lifting days, potentially. We just have to see how he does. But I think, Cheryl, your priority should be building / maintaining muscle mass, but getting that A1C down as much as you can. And the fasting and the keto will absolutely do that. Now, you mentioned you have Crohn's, so that is an inflammatory condition. That means your inflammation is higher. And so LDN would absolutely be something that I would also add to your arsenal, which we talked about that earlier with, I think it was Lisbeth, was low dose naltrexone. Perfect. So the supplements, where are we at? There we go. So this is the section on LDN. This is your essential supplements, guys. So there's literally 4 products that I'm saying are essential. There's a link if you want to purchase our favorite brand, but the vitamin D, the fish oil, the multi, and the vitamin D, the fish oil, the multi, and the magnesium. I do have a little extra magnesium just because I find that's better with the GLP-1 meds. And then you have your electrolytes because you're doing your long fasting. So at least on the long fasting days. Now, if you do have an autoimmune disease, 2 of you guys, I would absolutely add, even with the LDN, I would add some curcumin and resveratrol, just because curcumin and resveratrol are very powerful additional anti-inflammatories. The rest of this stuff is situational. So if you are doing a reset, 1 bottle of thyroid CMV would be very helpful. So you could purchase that directly here and follow the directions here, just 2 pills a day. If you're not getting 20 to 30 different fruits and vegetables, this is my favorite fiber supplement. It's very different than just straight psyllium husk. What we know about the gut is we want diversity in our gut microbiome. Diversity is key. So that's why this fiber supplement is my favorite, because it's got a lot of different fiber sources, which are considered prebiotics to feed different sources of gut. But in general, guys, when you're purchasing fruits and vegetables, the more color you can get, vibrant colors, that means they're rich in polyphenols. Polyphenols feed different types of gut bugs, and you want all sorts of different gut bugs in your gut. So the rest of this stuff is all very situational. And so if it comes up at any time during the program, you can absolutely reach out to us at any time. And then these are additional appetite suppressing supplements that are nice to be able to have, because you can't just inject more tirzepatide when you want. But if you want some additional appetite suppression at times, you can grab and you can reach out for some of these. Any supplement, food, or fasting questions, guys?
I'm sorry, fiber. I have problems with increased fiber because with blockages. I don't know. I've never tried a fiber supplement, just normal food fiber. I've been fortunate enough. I've got a protocol in place from my colon surgeon about what to do if I do have a blockage. And I've been good about it. I haven't been to the emergency room in 10 years, but I want to introduce more fiber. I just had a conversation with my gastro doctor 2 days ago, and I asked him about the pre and probiotics and gut health. He says, you don't really have a gut, and he's concerned about anything gut health related in regards to what's my small colon. So I've backed off of that. So I wasn't sure about the electrolytes, because that's another thing. The electrolytes of magnesium can also, if that is off, I can end up in the emergency room as well. So
how much? Yeah,
I'm not familiar with the electrolytes. All those the four main vitamins, I'm definitely taking them. I'm on that right now. It's the electrolytes I'm not sure of.
What parts of your gut specifically are removed? Because you got your small intestine, large intestine, you got the duodenum.
Yeah, the entire large intestine is gone. I have a permanent ileostomy.
So you still have a gut, you just don't have the large intestine.
Right. He was concerned about, yeah, and that's what I said to him, because I know the digestive system is from top to bottom, and he was concerned about activity in the small intestine. He didn't want me to push it. Now,
and I definitely don't want to override his advice for sure.
Definitely, I just want to get the information that I do share, because I knew I was having this meeting. So I wanted to ask him questions so that way I would be able to pose them to you.
Yeah.
Right now, I think I just need to do like food related type fiber, but I know I'm not familiar with the electrolytes that you indicate. That's one thing I have not ventured off into.
If you don't take electrolytes on long fasting days, that will be a problem.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm sure he's not going to have a problem with that. And then the fiber supplement, he's probably going to be okay with you starting really small and slowly increasing your dose over time is going to be my guess. So confirm that with him.
Okay.
If you guys enjoyed watching this video, then you guys are gonna wanna check this one out. I take a deep dive into fasting and overall lasting weight loss strategies utilizing these GLP-1 medications in the best format, microdosing intermittent usage. Check that out, guys. We'll see you later.